Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to this Zeald webinar, the second in our Keep Calm and Get Digital series. It's great to see so many people turning out today. My name is Jara. I will be your moderator for today's webinar. So COVID-19 has hit, and it's hit hard. Let's make no bones about this. What was considered normal a week ago is now a somewhat distant memory, and this is our first day of lockdown. Now, business in New Zealand is going to have to rapidly evolve and transform to survive and thrive in this new environment. So Zeald is going to be working really hard with our webinar series to help guide you through this time. And that's why we thought it was so important to speak about e-commerce today. While Alert Level 4 has forced almost every business to pause, when we were under levels 2 and 3, e-commerce was literally booming. And so what we're hoping to do with this webinar is provide some insight in how you can adapt to these changes and be ready to survive and thrive as this situation unfolds. We have some absolutely fantastic speakers today. First up, we'll be speaking with Titus, our Senior Digital Specialist here at Zeald. Titus has worked with numerous e-commerce business over the years and has compiled some top expert tips for you today. Now, we have scheduled this webinar to run for around 30 minutes. It will run a little bit longer than that today, because once Titus was finished putting together some expert tips, he's got a few more than we originally intended, and so we will be running a little overtime today. I just wanted to forewarn you on that. Probably about 40 minutes all up. Second on our panel today will be Bruce Marjorie-Banks, a marketing advisor from our Tauranga agency. He will be discussing marketing strategies that you can implement once we return to levels 2 and 3, and you might want to get started on preparing in advance of that. All right, so a little bit of housekeeping today. We will have Q&As mainly at the end. However, there is a question and answer panel, and you are free to post those throughout the presentation. If possible, we will bring them up if they make sense in what Titus is presenting. But once we get to that Q&A section, please feel free to post as many questions as you like, and we'll try and address them as we go. If you are having trouble hearing me, then you won't be able to hear what I'm saying, but hopefully if you can see me moving my mouse over here, if you can't hear anything, then please adjust your audio settings here. This is the Q&A button that you'll see down in the controls. You're welcome to send questions through in that way anytime. So what I'm going to do now is I'll stop sharing and I will pass over to my colleague Titus. Good afternoon, Titus. How are you?
Good afternoon, Jara. Thank you very much for the introduction. How is everyone today? Sorry.
Well, I can't let them. They're not talking at the moment. I'm good if that's what you're asking. Thank you. And so yeah, feel free to share your screen and we can get started on some of the expert tips that you've got. I'm really looking forward to this.
Excellent, excellent. Just confirming, Jara, can you see my screen okay?
We can see your screen. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. All right, thank you very much for joining me today. I know it's a pretty crazy time, especially since it's day 1 of lockdown. So thank you very much for taking some time out for this presentation. And I really hope that I spent quite a bit of time on this, and I really hope that you find a few useful tidbits to take away from this. So just to give you a general overview of what is going on today, what I'm going to be talking about, we've got really just taking a look at the e-commerce scene in general, both before and after this recent big event has hit us. And in part 2, I'm just going to be taking you through some real e-commerce practices that you can utilize for your business now. Most of these with the aim of things that you can action yourself. So a little more on the basic side, but also dabbling into a bit more of the advanced side of things as well. So it's quite a general topic, but really keen to get your feedback at the end of this. So as we're going through it, please do post any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them throughout and at the end of this.
Titus, just one point from me. I forgot to mention in my introduction, we will be doing a recording this session for you, and we will make available a copy afterwards for anyone that's maybe moving a bit quick and you want to check it out later on. We will have that copy available for you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, now, as is probably the case with, well, presumably the case with pretty much all of you, I'm working from home. We're all working from home here. So please do bear with me. I'm still getting the hang of working with kids. I've got 2 kids in the house at the moment. TV's hopefully going to keep them entertained for the duration of this. But, I have had to resort to other measures as well. Still getting the hang of this working from home from kids thing. So please bear with me if they do escape. So straight on to our expert tips. So
you've now got me thinking I didn't stock up enough duct tape.
Got to get the essentials, Jara. Okay, so straight into it. Looking at the general e-commerce scene before this whole coronavirus thing hit, and these statistics taken from, there's quite a lot of different reports out there, but this is quite a reliable one. There's loads of them, and they all show pretty much the same sorts of levels of growth in e-commerce generally over the years. And we're looking at 2004 to 2030 to the present, and then projecting to the future in terms of sales growth of the e-commerce sector across the world. Now, I think this is quite interesting to see, because e-commerce has been massively growing recently. Just in the previous 4 years to 2019, e-commerce sales have literally doubled. They've gone from, if you compare all the retail sales, that's mostly obviously physical stores and digital stores. Digital in 2015 was about 7.4% of the purchases made, and in 2019 it was 15%. So it's like double the amount in terms of the actual amount spent from people is all online. So there's an obscene level of growth, really. Now, obviously, the projections now are completely out the window. We don't know where this is going to go, but we actually have reason to believe that e-commerce sales are going to go even higher than projected, just because of the current situation. Now, you may be wondering why. Now, there's a lot of things that we can predict. We don't know for sure, but this is what we're feeling and seeing. And as Jared said, we've seen for our own businesses and for our own clients, that e-commerce sales have increased generally across the board. And we're getting reports from America, the UK, New Zealand. E-commerce has been on the up, particularly through, obviously not at the moment. It's a bit of a tricky time for this whole level 4 thing. But prior to this, e-commerce sales have been up, and they've been fluctuating in a lot of different ways in different areas. So one key thing which we're saying is that typically organic traffic in most industries is in decline. So this graph here from neilpatel.com, founder of Uber Suggest, it shows that most sectors are doing poorly. Not very surprising. This is organic traffic. So we're seeing a few areas which are doing better: finance, food, healthcare, and media, so media and entertainment. So you can see there's obviously real potential in those specific areas, but most of them are dropping in the organic space. But that organic's obviously not the be all and end all. We're seeing logistics issues. Everyone's obviously seeing these. That's all started from Chinese New Year and through coronavirus in China. Logistics getting stuff from China, but also logistics internationally now, as all ports are closing. And of course, at the moment, we can't do any logistics within New Zealand for the next 4 weeks as well. And a decrease in physical retail and an increase in online spend is happening, and a decrease in advertising costs. Now, a thing I should probably mention is a lot of this, I'm really talking about periods outside of this level 4 lockdown. This level 4 lockdown is only going to last, well, we don't know how long it's going to last, but it's going to last around 4 weeks. Might be longer, might be less. But the thing is, this is a long-term thing. But we're not going to go straight back to the way it was before level 4. I think that's pretty much a given. And we're going to see, once we're actually allowed out of our houses, that there's a lot of changes, and all of these things will be valid. There will still be logistics issues. There will be less people going to physical retail shops, and there will be more people spending online. That's the general predictions going forwards.
Would you say, Titus, that what we've seen so far in that early period through level 2 and 3, and that we're expecting to come back to at the end of this lockdown, is that decrease in advertising costs, but the increase in actual online spend is going to create quite a few opportunities for people?
Yep, absolutely. I think you're jumping ahead of the game here, Jared.
Oh, sorry, mate.
I'm gonna get onto that. But yeah, absolutely, it is. It's changing the landscape drastically in terms of who's going online, what people are doing online, and where people are spending money. Because lots of people are doing different things with money in the advertising space, and people are doing different things as an audience in the available inventory for advertising, as well as just general organic search and what is available online. Well, I'll talk more about that in the coming slides. So we've got a real opportunity to get ahead online, and this again, it's just back to the fact that e-commerce is massive. And bear with me, the dog's on the loose there. So looking forward, let's take a peek at a few ways how we can actually improve your e-commerce business for the moment. So what's different? We've got uncertainty is higher than ever. People are very cautious with spending, and perhaps most importantly at the moment, there are actually new customers that have never ever purchased anything online before. They've never even, fulfilled a single checkout online, particularly the older generation, but a lot of people who are just laggards in the whole area of online shopping. They're being forced into this at the moment. So people are, whether they like it or not, doing more online. And at the end of the day, if we just look at the e-commerce space in particular, that is your website selling products or services, the real key thing at the moment is that there's a lot of fear out there, and a key thing that we should be aiming to do is really reassuring customers and building confidence. So tip number one really is proactively reassuring customers of everything in the whole situation and being completely transparent with it. This now more than ever is the perfect time to be completely honest with your customers and spell things out for them as well, because what we're saying is, everyone knows there's delays going on, but people come to a website, they have a severe trust issue at the moment. They want to know that they're getting products in a certain time. There's a delay. Is it a 2-day delay or is it a 4-week delay? Are these even in stock? What are your cleanliness practices in your warehouses and fulfillment centers? These things may all sound obvious to you, but a lot of people, particularly website visitors, really don't know about these things. They don't know about you, and they're really important to highlight. And there's no harm in overdoing it at the moment. The COVID notice is everywhere, but the real thing you want to do is highlight the things that can reassure customers on your website. So for example, you can say, shipping has been affected, there might be a 3-day delay. Or you can even go a step further and indicate that 90% of orders are still being delivered within 2 days or 5 days or whatever that may be. But it really is a case of being as open as possible about what procedures you've got in place to make sure that obviously COVID doesn't spread, but also what customers can do to expect in terms of that transparency of how things are going to work. How are they going to trust you that little bit better? Now,
Sorry,
do
you mind if I just ask one question there? So if I'm getting you right, so the worst thing we could be doing right now if we have an e-commerce business is kind of burying your head in the sand and not actively communicating every little bit of information that you possibly can pass on to customers. So if you are shut down, let them know. All right, when are you going to reopen? All those sort of things. So that communication is just absolutely key, right?
Communication is key, trust is key, and you've got to tell people what to expect. If you're hanging around at the moment and you're just expecting everyone to know that you're not going to be delivering anything for the next 4 weeks, but you're still taking orders, that's a problem, because people are never going to trust you afterwards. If after that, you can say, "I'll blame it on the situation," but you've got to tell people the way it is at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Now, some other things that are different is, some products in industries will thrive. There are a few, believe it or not, but many products are actually going to be pretty impossible to market. Who's going to want to go and buy some couture Gucci's or a luxury car at the moment when we're on lockdown or shortly afterwards? It's going to be really hard to market stuff like that. But then a lot of things, even if they're not in these key areas on the rides, that's food, entertainment, media, health, and finance, even if they're not in those, there are ways that you can get around this and try and position things for the market in the months to come. And a real key thing, a next expert tip, is thinking of ways to reframe your product for use at home and during these difficult times. So, for example, there's also, you're probably seeing this all over the place on social media, but people are offering all sorts of different solutions and ways of getting around this at the moment. Examples are bundling your products or reframing products for use at being helpful at home with children. For example, children's toys. They're no longer just a treat for your little kids. They're actually a way for parents to maintain their sanity. That is key. At the moment, we're all stuck together. This is going to last for a long time. You need to help people with distractions. Entertainment is key. Loads of products and services can be used as entertainment, but even things like hotels and motels. At the moment, they may be looking. It's just around the middle of a place to go for your business travel or whatever. When when we are allowed out of our house again, we're probably, most likely not going to be able to fly anywhere. And those hotels and motels, they're your next exotic tourist destination. They're your relief from home. These will be the most exciting things ever. And they'll be in pretty high demand. So we want to prepare for stuff like that. If you're a gym, people aren't as keen to go out, but what do? There's loads of opportunities online to show your videos of what you would otherwise be doing in those gym sessions, help people do home workouts. I've even seen posts, I don't really know how it works, but I've seen posts from physios saying they'll do virtual video conferencing, home physio consults. People are pivoting and doing things very different at the moment. So it's reframe your product or your service to use at home during these difficult times. Now, one key area of really e-commerce is that whole user journey. I call this fixing the funnel. It's a bit more of a technical term, but for those of you who don't know, fixing the funnel means fixing the marketing funnel, and the marketing funnel is basically your customer's user experience as they go from seeing that initial first ad or a bit of copy or whatever it is, right through to the purchase completion. Now, at the moment, there's always problems with improving that customer experience, but key thing at the moment is what was working yesterday probably will not be working now. But how do we find the leak in the funnel? There are a few ways of doing that. Now, this way is perhaps one of my favorite ways. I'm a very analytics-driven person. I would look at things like reviewing what's working, what is in terms of quantitative data, using Google Analytics. Now, I'm not going to spend very long dwelling on this. I could actually talk about this for hours. But if you're the data-like-minded person and you've got Google Analytics set up on your website, you will actually already have a wealth of knowledge at your fingertips. And the key thing is trying to use that. Now we've got lots of time, mind you, you kind of use that to try and work out what's going on with your website and what's not. And ultimately deriving real insights and actions from this. So not just looking at numbers, but trying to find out the patterns. And the key bit of advice I'd have for you about Google Analytics or whatever analytics package you're using is try and work out what is massively different now from before. So for example, compare this here is just a very, very straightforward checkout funnel. You got people coming to your website in general, the number of people visiting the product with product page views, add to carts, then checkouts, and then transactions. Where are the big drops? I'm not so much interested in it generally. This on its own doesn't actually mean very much to me or to you or to anyone. What I'll be looking for is comparing this now, or at least from last month's data, to a point of success last year when everything was working really well, and see what's fundamentally different. Are people dropping off on the product page through to add to the cart, or are people dropping off on the checkout before the final transaction? And what you do with that is, if you're seeing a massive difference, the key thing is reinforcing that message at that point in time. So on the checkout page, if that's where the drop-offs are failing, you want to put messaging on there saying those trust messages that we talked about before, about your delivery, about the response to COVID, all of that sort of stuff, about the trust points that they can engage with you. So it's really about addressing those like key points from the site. Now, I'm going to leave it there because, as I said, I could talk about analytics for ages, but that is something you can do. Something that perhaps is a little bit more accessible for most people is the use of live chat. Now, this is a really, really useful one. You've probably seen and used live chat on many websites before. Live chat is absolutely awesome. It's great for conversion rate. It's great for usability as a customer on a website. But at the moment, it is a real confidence builder. If people have any questions about these things, and they will have questions about all those points we've just raised and more, they can just reach out to someone who's available. It's really, and the nice thing about live chat is it's super easy to set up. You can actually, as long as you've got a modern website CMS, whether it's WordPress, Shopify, you can really easily set up different live chat tools. My personal favorite one is Tidio. It's actually free for up to 3 users, and there's obviously paid plans. By the way, we're not affiliated with Tidio at all, but and then installing it is literally adding a single line of code to a slot on your website. It's really quick. But the nice thing about this is it's really accessible for people to be able to get in touch and find out and answer their questions. Already before COVID, we've had different foundations like Forrester Research found that roughly 44% of online customers say they have questions. say they really want to have questions answered by a live person whilst they're purchasing something. And that's one of the most important features. And then there are many different results, surveys you can see online about conversion rates for this. Typically, we do see about a 15 to 20% conversion rate lift in sites with live chat, but also I've seen reports that suggest, you know, the conversion rates can be up to 40% increase for this. And it's really easy to set up. If you've got time and you've got people on computers, I'm guessing all of you have got people on computers working at home at the moment, then this is an awesome thing to do. It really doesn't take long. So I'll take my advice, check it out at tidio.com. Moving on, we've got a second expert tip in a row. So we have just taking it a step further, looking at live chat. One thing to really address is the qualitative measures. So I talked about quantitative stuff from Google Analytics, but qualitative stuff, you can actually use things like Tidio, getting feedback from customers, and that feedback and process can be as simple as whenever one of your operators takes a message or a contact form message complaining about anything, or you hear anything, you put it into a spreadsheet. And live chat, actually, the Tidio example is a really, really good way of working out what works and what doesn't. If there's something broken on the website, people will typically go on live chat and say, hey, this is broken, can you help me? If you don't have live chat, you're going to go away, right? This is a great place for putting that feedback into place. And the key thing about getting qualitative feedback is you want to store it somewhere so that you can later analyze and ultimately work out a really good action plan for what to do to fix that issue. And we've got a lot of those at this point in time. They're not going to necessarily relate to website functionality. This will be completely things to do with logistics and COVID related issues as well at the moment. So moving on, let's look at digital advertising. So Joe was kind of leading into this before, I think, but you know,
a little bit.
but basically, you know, looking at digital advertising, a lot of people at the moment are going, well, why on earth would we want to go into digital advertising right now? Why would we want to do pay-per-click? Pay-per-click or digital advertising, your typical channels would be Google ads, Google shopping, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, that sort of thing. You know, to be honest, at the moment during level 4 lockdown, you probably wouldn't want to do it. You know, there's not much you can get in terms of real revenue at the moment, unless maybe you're in the food or health industry, or need urgent services and that sort of thing, and you can do it remotely. But it is actually a really, really good place to prepare for and focus on. The reason being is, at the moment, people are sitting on their computers, at the TVs, on their phones all day long digesting media, particularly social media. And they're doing this more than they've ever done before, whether it's looking at news or everything else in the world at the moment. So what this means is we've got an increase in advertising inventory available. So social media channels are booming at the moment. And I say increase in advertising inventories because you imagine the amount of people on Facebook, it's 2 times as much as it was last month. That means there is 2 times as much space for adverts to fill. Okay. The next point is that global media ad spending is likely to take a hit. Already, companies are pausing ad campaigns. A lot of my clients have said straight away, we're going to stop all our ads right now. I was like, okay, I understand why you're doing that. Big companies especially are stopping this. They've got major budget cuts, advertising one thing to go. So there's a lot less competition. Pay-per-click is typically done on an auction-based system. So the more people bidding for keywords or positions or audiences, the more expensive it is. Now there's less competition, so it'll be cheaper. So obviously there's going to be a lower cost per impression. There's cost per number of views is dropping. And then the ratio of online shoppers to physical store shopping will rise significantly over the next year. So again, there's a bigger audience. Now, if this doesn't spell it out for you, it's just basically there is a massive opportunity in the ad space coming up once this lockdown is over, really. And the key things I'd probably advise you on this with my next expert tip is do try digital advertising. I think I've written this wrong, actually. Do try digital advertising, but ensure that you're monitoring and tracking conversions and performance. There's no point in going into the advertising space burning away all your money, which you're taking care of, especially at the moment, if you're not monitoring what you're getting back for it. You've got to monitor your return on investment. If you don't have tracking in place for that, you want to set that up. It's not terribly complicated these days, but it's very, very important. Okay.
So would you say, Titus, if someone doesn't have Google Analytics set up and configured with all of their goals and things like that, that this is probably one of the most important things for them to do over this lockdown period, so that when they do start back, they can monitor and adjust really quickly to succeed in that new environment?
That's exactly right. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be Google Analytics, but, you know, for example, if you're on Facebook, you need to make sure your Facebook pixel's set up so that you can monitor conversions in Facebook. But the ultimate thing is you need to be able to say that for X $100, so if I spend $1,000, I have made $2,000 back. You need to be able to say that at the end of your campaign that you run. If you can't do that, I would probably advise against doing this at the moment. But it's a lot easier nowadays to do that. So, and there's a lot of solutions to help you do that as well. The other thing is be prepared to do things a little bit different. So test different offers and provide value. So when I say different offers, I don't mean just the usual, you know, 20% off discount. Try different offers, try different ways of messaging things and framing things. So at the moment, people are spending a lot more time at home. Frame things, you know, it's like about reframe the products. Frame things around helping you at home, helping you with the benefits. So try the different offers, but do test. And then provide value as well. So you don't actually need to necessarily go for the sale, go for the jugular straight away. You can provide value beforehand. So raise that confidence and trust in your brand so that when people are getting a little bit more settled, then, you know, they'll come back to you afterwards, which will be, you know, you might get a bit more technical with a remarketing campaign, but that's a conversation for another day. And then focus on the creative. So actually, you might think that a lot of people talk about, the most, you know, you want someone who's got a really awesome Facebook ad strategy way of thinking. You know, there's like 100 different ways about doing it. And there are a lot of ways of doing Facebook ads, and it is a complicated area. But to be honest, from what I've seen, most of the success of any Facebook campaign or any digital display campaign, Google advertising, is about the creative. The creative is the key thing. So spend time crafting a good message. A creative being just a bit of ad copy, your images. Spend a little time on that. Spend some time now, and you'll reap big rewards later. So I guess one of the final sections of part 2 is really about re-engaging and selling to your existing customers before your competition does. So now I'm talking a little bit about email marketing. You've as an e-commerce business, you've probably got your own customer database. Now, I don't actually mean go out now and start email marketing everyone. Actually, I think now is like the worst time to do it because because you'll probably experience it. Everyone's getting bombarded with all these COVID emails. And, you know, it's all about corporate social responsibility and that. And it's important stuff. But to be honest, you know, if you're a consumer like me, you know, quite frankly, I don't really care about it. But it is burying messages. You know, I care about the big picture stuff, but now's the worst time to send email. What you want to do is build trust by providing value. Value now. So don't try and make the big sell. Help people now. Build messages over the next month, which can go out to your customers, and set up processes that are in place, marketing automation processes that are in place to help you improve your conversions later on. This is the time to consolidate and improve your brand messaging, and particularly with your existing customers, that trust is critical. You know, you've already earned their trust. Re-engage with those guys now will pay massive dividends later because you've already got that trust. You don't need to win it. Winning cold traffic at the moment, get some brand new customers is quite tricky now. Do nurture and build that trust with your current database. And there's a whole load of things you can do around that, particularly if you want to go a bit more advanced with like an email marketing tool like Klaviyo. You can set up things like abandoned cart emails, all sorts of fancy ways of gaining more sales later on. But you can set up the processes now and be prepared for when the rise does kick into place. So my expert tip on this matter, which is, you know, related to email marketing, is actually it's a fairly simple one. One thing that is really overlooked, and that is, I'm going to start by asking the question: what email gets a 99% open rate? Most people probably can't answer that. It's actually the order confirmation email that you get once you place an order. So nearly everyone wants to see this email. They want to see, oh yeah, the order's been placed. Yes, I've got it. It's going to be in the post whenever. Nearly everyone opens this. Most emails is like a 5% to really good campaign have a 20% open rate, 20 to, you can get up to 40%, really depends on your audience. But this one, everyone opens, but no one ever has anything on this other than your usual boring, okay, here's your line items, here's your price, thank you very much. So this is trust, also a point where trust is at its peak. Someone's just decided to give you their money. They put their trust in you. Why don't we maximize that timing and real estate by creating another post-purchase offer? So straight away, once you're sold on something, go back at them. It doesn't cost you anything to send an automated email to them with an offer that they cannot refuse. An offer that you know, profit margin might be a lot lower on this, but this is free. This is free advertising. Sell them something else. It could be the same product even. It could be something else very related at a discount, but only available for the next week. So do that. It's real easy. You can just, if you're in WooCommerce, for example, you just modify that email, add a line of text saying, hey, here's your voucher code. Use that within the, add a bit of urgency, use that within the next day or two, and you can get 20% off something. Real easy thing to do. So that's it for my, my main bit of strategy around how to deal with e-commerce. I will leave you with one last note, which is that I'm a firm believer that whilst it is a really, really scary time, you know, the natural inclination of everyone is to pull back and wait, but there is a huge opportunity here. It's not easy, but this is actually the time to hustle. This is the time to seize the moment. And as Warren Buffett does it, he says, be greedy when other people are fearful. And what he means by this, if you've ever read any of his stuff, is now when everyone else is afraid, this is the time to double down. This is the time to reinvest so that you can get a really good return. And it's what he does. He always comes out of these recessions and whatnot with more money than ever. So if we can't learn from him, I don't know who we can learn from, really. So anyway, that's me. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Titus. There's some excellent tips there. I see there's been a bit of a discussion going on in the chat section as well. So just to clarify, we are aware that there is no, a lot of careers will not be able to operate for e-commerce businesses through this shutdown. And it is essentially just for essential services. So when we're talking about what sort of activities you should look to do here, we are mainly referencing the sort of things you need to prepare for when the lockdown starts to reduce. And so when we maybe return to a level 3 or a level 2 environment, what sort of things do you need to have ready? And so that lockdown period where you've got a bit more time to focus on your business may be a great time to look at doing those sort of things. So thank you very much, Titus. Now I'd like to invite Bruce to join us. And so what we'll do is I've got a few questions for Bruce. So yeah, Bruce, welcome along.
Hi, Jarrah. How are you?
Cool. Nice to have you here today. So we've talked about post-lockdown, right? So we're going to move into a new space in 4 weeks. Hopefully it's successful and we start to move into that full space. So when e-commerce businesses begin to operate again, what key marketing initiatives do you think they should be ready to go with?
Yeah, okay. So the first one I think you'd start off focusing on now, even though this may be 4 weeks ago, is your offers. So what there will be is a bit of a free-for-all. There'll be a large amount of competition online. So what you'd want to do now is start to focus on those and the way that you engineer and structure them. So by that, I mean looking for products in your business that lead on to another purchase and maybe a larger purchase. So an example of that might be something like a retailer. If you're in fashion and you're selling shirts, you go back through analytics and through your e-commerce database and you find out that it leads on to the purchase of a suit. Okay, so that's the products that we're looking for. If we find that, then we want to structure around a proper campaign to take advantage of that when these restrictions are released. So by a proper campaign, I mean something a little bit more than just pushing out the product page on these. So we might pick out 4 or 5 products and structure something around that. We might look at more of a big idea around that campaign, a landing page which has a really solid argument on why you're going to buy it, and of course the offer. And normally we'd start with the offers being things like payment plans, free trials, things like that, that That's going to be your starting point. Yeah, and then once we've got that, we'll have the ideal audience, and then we'll roll that out depending on the channel that you've got. So you might be AdWords, Facebook, LinkedIn, or it might be a combination of all of them on who you're targeting. I think Titus also mentioned there some around segmenting a product. So you might have a situation at the moment where you do have something you can sell online. Right now, everyone's on Facebook. They're all on Facebook. They're all looking for information. Everyone's in information gathering mode. So you don't necessarily have to sell a product there, but you might have something that you can offer that's value up front, or gives them some form of result in advance. It might be just information, but if you can do that now, you can build a database, and at the moment leads are quite cheap on Facebook. So you could take this opportunity to build a database and also have that ready to go at the time that the restrictions are released. The second tip I have would be more around what I call review your entire e-commerce ecosystem, but that's more about plugging any holes in the bucket, having a look at how you're set up now and where you can improve that. So there's areas that that usually jump out would be around product pages not being so good. Email opt-ins are not working so well. They might be typical e-commerce site, it's pop-up, hey, 5% off, please sign up. You could do a little bit more than that in that area. The upsells and cross-sells and the way they're done on the site. Titus mentioned a little bit about post-purchase as well. A lot of this can be set up now and automated. Your entire content strategy, sometimes there is none on an e-commerce site, so it's all product-based. Now is a good time to be looking at, well, what else can we offer? And then the remarketing of a lot of these things. So remarketing can be, is Facebook, AdWords, and email. It can, in different formats, but it can be based on the content they're consuming on the site. It can be based on the products they looked at, and start to get together a strategy around that as well. I think another area too in e-commerce that's not done enough of is pre-sale pages. So a lot of the time you'd be brought into where that comes in is something like a main category. You might create a pre-sale around that category page and then link off to certain products that are offered there. It's just doing a little bit more in those areas, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Bruce. So just for everyone that's listening, if you want to put some questions through the question and answer panel, you're welcome to do that. Now, Bruce, one of the things that we've touched on, both yourself and Titus have touched on, is just offers and the fact that there's potentially less competition at the moment. And so that's going to create a bit of an opportunity as the restrictions start to lift. And in any time when there's a market influx like there's an opportunity to create a bit of market share, right? So what sort of things would you focus on if you were trying to help an e-commerce customer try and really gain some market share during that post lockdown period?
Yeah. So post lockdown, definitely on this one. So yeah, the growth is or scale, as you're saying there, or market share, same thing. It's really a perfect storm of three things. So you're to do that, you usually pretty much always increasing what you can afford to spend to acquire a customer. The reason being that you're normally going outside smaller campaigns, which might be just search, and you're going into other areas that are a little bit colder traffic. So it costs more as you go up. But in what you can do at the same time is you're increasing the average order value of a customer as they come into the store. That's at checkout and after, and increasing the number of repeat visits. So to give you a sort of a real world example, and this relates back to more that conversation around lifetime value and understanding that. But so an example might be something like a fashion retailer. Again, I think this is an easy one to use as an example. You might start off and you're spending $35. And you've set that because you know on that first sale, you're probably getting maybe $70 on the average sale. And then say you launched in September, you get that customer. In December, you might realize, hey, they came back for the Christmas sale. Then in the winter sale as well, down the track, you start to realize, hey, they spent more there as well because it's heavier clothing, it costs more. Suddenly a customer which you thought was worth maybe $80 has now come back 3 times in the last 12 months, and they're worth up around $600, depending on what those orders are. And it's really based about your ability to get them back and your ability to upsell them when they do come back. So if you do then start to realize and learn this along the way, some clients would already have this information now, some people don't. So sometimes it's a journey of discovery, other times it's just a matter of right now going back, doing the analysis and finding this out. If you did know that, suddenly you can go from $35 to $70 to acquire a customer, and that opens up all new opportunities. It makes it so much easier to acquire customers because you're more aggressive, you're across more of the market, you've got more channels operating, you might suddenly have some YouTube ads going, Facebook ads, you've got more remarketing, you're just gathering more. If you can do that and at the same time as bringing those customers in, do what we just said and getting them to come back, average, you would create what's called a cycle of scale. And it just goes round and round and round until you take it as far as you can with those numbers. Yeah, and a real world example, I do know a New Zealand fashion retailer that did this, started off at about $3,000 and scaled up to about $120,000 the following December. And that's just about knowing the numbers. So it's not knowing those numbers and deciding how aggressive you want to be. If it suits the business, you may choose not to. Other businesses want to be ultra aggressive, might go right down the break even. Others might want to choose to keep more of the margin. So it's up to the business where they're at and what they want to achieve, and they control the numbers at all times during the strategy. Yeah.
Awesome. I think some of the stuff you come up there, Bruce, it's all awesome stuff. And I've seen Bruce do this. He's really good at managing these sorts of campaigns. But one thing about all that stuff is it can get pretty complex. And most of my clients, at least, they don't want to touch any of that because it's pretty complicated when you get into all that. But I will say that even if you don't want to go to specialists to sort this out, there are some awesome tools out there now which make it easier than ever to work things out, like customer lifetime value and how to remarket and re-engage them. There are quite a lot of tools. I mentioned one called Klaviyo. There are lots online which make this more easy nowadays as well. So
awesome. Thank you, Titus and Bruce. So we have actually had a question come through that's kind of relevant to that as well, Titus. It's someone's asked, can you actually help me with a strategy for AdWords after the 4 weeks are up? So these are the two gentlemen here who generally would help you with that sort of strategy. And so if you do need some help, I wouldn't personally wait for 4 weeks to try and get something set up. I'd get it set up and ready to go so it can be turned on at the appropriate time. Would that be your recommendation, gentlemen?
I think that's exactly it. You've got to be prepared now. Now is the time to consolidate and reinforce your brand, your website, and your marketing. It's like what Bruce said. You've got to create those offers now and work out what your plan is for when everyone, when we go back on it. You want to be right. You know, these things are usually a bell curve in terms of how they rise. You want to be in when the market starts rising. You don't want to start doing all the planning and all that when you're at that point, because then you'll be just after everyone else. So yeah, now's the time.
Yeah, so it's not something you just switch on, right? So you take a couple of weeks to pull everything together, right? I think we've got time for one last question. So this one is for Bruce. We've talked about a lot of different things and a lot of different options for e-commerce customers. What would you say is the one most underutilized tool for e-commerce? And what would that be in your opinion? And what should people use?
It's email. I know that sounds like everyone's going to go, oh, it's email, but it's never really died. Although it's been, I think it makes up 50 to 60% of some of the international brands in terms of their revenue. So it's still killing it, but there is a big return to it. Maybe a slight drop off in usage of Facebook, although I don't think that would be at the moment. But also mobile phone. You've got their complete attention now when you do an email and get it onto someone's phone and they're reading those emails. So, but it has to be done right. Okay, so there's a lot of, I guess the wrong way to do it is usually a big branded email, and and here's all my products, sort it out and please buy one, which is most of the emails I get that'll come through. A smarter way is in the way you approach it is it's a conversational medium, and it's a storytelling medium, which can then lead into a sale, and you need to treat it like that. So a lot of the most effective emails look like an email that's come from your friend, and the way you talk and discuss those. So the areas there that you're looking for would be, firstly, list building. If you don't have a list, you're going to have to start creating one. The copywriting, I did have an example site here that I thought I could give people if they wanted to sign up. It is the world's ugliest website, but it's probably the best email marketing I've ever come across. As an example, maybe you could put that up later or something like that. And there's a lot of misunderstandings around delivery frequency. So people say, oh, you can't say a lot of emails. It's really about what you say and how you say it in the context of what you're offering. So emails can go almost every day and be sent out every day if you know how to do it. If you're just sending an offer every day, that's probably not going to work. So the copywriting is critical. And then what you can do is all your transactional emails, your abandoned carts and follow-ups to so your receipts that Tyus was talking about, and also related products that they might want to buy after the sale. All of that, there's plenty of systems to automate all of that end. So you can mainly just focus on that front end.
That's great. Thank you, Bruce. Sorry, I've got a question from Grace, but we haven't quite got time to answer that. So if someone wouldn't mind jumping on and just typing that out while we wrap things up. And also, Bruce, if you've got an example of what people might like to sign up to, if you could just put that into the chat so that people have got that link. Otherwise, we'll try and add it to our follow-up email here as well. So just wanted to recap what we've gone over today. So just a little bit of detail. So COVID-19 is absolutely forcing us to change the way that we work and the way that we buy. So this could eventually turn out to be incredibly positive for a lot of businesses. And yeah, it was just because some more people are going to end up wanting to transact via e-commerce. So our key trend that we're seeing is that people in older demographics are adopting e-commerce sites like never before. And well, at least they have been right up until the lockdown, and they are overseas. And that's has been driving an increase in online sales. And we predict that is actually going to boom once we get to level 2 and 3. Just as an example, I was actually helping my next door neighbor who's over 70 sign up for Countdown shopping so she could shop online for the first time in her life last weekend. And so she's all prepping, and she's never done that before, and she's probably going to find out that it's actually a lot more fun to do your shopping from home than it is to go into the supermarket and go through all the halls, all really, really busy and rushing. So that's our prediction, is that online sales are going to take off when the restrictions lift, and you really should prepare now. So you can use this lockdown to review, adapt, and evolve, and do so quickly so that you're at the forefront of this recovery. Zeald has helped over 15,000 businesses transform digitally over the last 20 years. We're going to be running webinars like this twice a week from next week as we share top tips for you to adapt, evolve, and hopefully succeed in this challenging time. Our next webinar is on the basics of SEO, and that is next Wednesday. It'll be a practical guide on how you can get started yourself on search engine optimization. If you'd like any additional support in the form of a free strategy session or an audit of your website with one of our strategists, please feel free to just let us know in the feedback form that we'll be sending out. We have a free service there there's no obligation, and we'd love to help you out during this challenging time. A massive thanks to our presenters and panelists today, Tyus and Bruce. Really appreciate your thoughts and sharing your valuable insights. That is all the time we have today, folks. We appreciate you coming along to this webinar, Keep Calm and Get Digital. If you missed part of this webinar or you'd like to see it again, we will be posting a video of this on YouTube. And if you know anyone that might benefit from attending these webinars in future, feel free to share the register link and invite them along. I wish you a good day and good luck during this lockdown.